Hello ladies and gentlemen, Aaron here. Today we'll be looking at Bastion. I'm also testing a new format for my videos, so let's see how that goes. Let me know what you think in the trunk down there. Now, I love Bastion. It's a fantastic example of doing something different in a way that works really well. But sadly, no game is without faults. So, without further ado, let's get started. Bastion is an isometric-ish, combat-oriented game centered around a kid. This kid to be specific. The aim, at its simplest, is to move through a level, kill enemies, collect things, and grab one of these, and leave. The narrator. This fella. He'll be talking to you every step of the way. Or rather, he'll be talking as if he was retelling the story you are currently playing to somebody else at a later date. It's kind of hard to explain. The narrator's vocals are some of the most reactive I've ever seen, immediately responding to most actions that you take. And this adds a fantastic feel to the game. Plus, the sultry voice of Logan Cunningham is a lovely companion in an otherwise largely hostile world. The narration is often used to tell a story that the general game design doesn't otherwise allow for, and on occasion he'll provide you with useful hints, when needed. Due to Bastion's camera angle, which is completely unchangeable, movement with the WASD keys can be tricky at times. The level design usually accommodates the movement style, with pathways only being built at 45-degree angles that the WASD can accommodate for. But occasionally, for no good reason, they change the angle ever so slightly, so you need to constantly readjust to avoid falling off of the world. Now, I imagine this would be a non-issue when playing with a gamepad, as the game was originally designed with both gamepad and keyboard play in mind. But that isn't really the point here. If they're going to build a game for use with the 45-degree angle movement, they should stick to using only 45-degree angles. The camera angle also has a habit of hiding tiny little holes in the world from you, which can often take you by surprise. However, the actual gameplay is really well built. The weapons all feel like they pack quite a punch without being overpowered. The choice of weapons here is really diverse too. There's a hammer, a mortar, a sword which you can also throw, and a blunderbuss, just to name a few. The combat controls are really simple. WASD to move, space to dodge, shift to block, and you can bounce projectiles with the shield. You have a crosshair, and weapons fire or attack in the direction of the crosshair. Left click for left weapon, right click for right weapon, and holding down the button on some weapons can provide either more powerful or alternate attacks. You also press Q for an ability, which uses an ability potion. Now, this system would be perfect if it was a little more polished. There are many issues I have with it. The crosshair doesn't always indicate where the weapon will travel. Sometimes you need to look at the pathway that it draws on the ground with the arrows. And, with only a few exceptions, the enemies in this game are airborne. Now this wouldn't be much of an issue if hitting the actual texture of the enemy counted as a hit. Instead, you need to aim at the shadow on the ground to actually score a hit on the enemies. I also feel that the block could do with having a dedicated button. As it is, Shift raises your shield and target locks the nearest enemy. Now, this has led to more than a few instances of me raising my shield to bounce a projectile and wind up being hit in the back with it, because I've automatically turned to face a near enemy. The game's character system in this is really simple. You have your health bar, your experience bar, health potions, and ability potions. When you kill things, you gain experience. When you level up, you unlock an extra slot at the distillery, which allows you to equip more booze, which can increase stats or provide other special bonuses like the ability to carry more health potions or ability potions. You also gather shards throughout the duration of the game, which you spend on weapon upgrades. The weapon upgrades can be swapped out at any time once unlocked for no cost. I had a lot of trouble with some of the enemies in this game too. They seem really powerful compared to the player, and in some instances absolutely destroyed me, keeping me in stun lock or flinging me airborne and draining all of my health and potion reserves in no time. Now, I understand that this is intentional, and in fact enhances game feel in places. However, the stun locks and airborne flinging are far too strong. There's been more than one fight where my feet didn't touch the ground for more than a few seconds. In addition, some enemies provide area denial by means of acid. Given how large they are, and how rarely you stand still in the combat in Bastion, I felt that area denial didn't really fit with the other combat mechanics. There was nearly no way to avoid being hit by the acid for any stretch of time. There are a few additional things that I wanted to mention, but I couldn't quite expand upon them enough, so I'm just going to list them here. When you obtain a new ability, or weapon, you immediately switch to it, and can't switch back until you return to the central hub, to the arsenal. You rarely encounter friendly units in the game, and when you do they look just like enemies, but instead they have these little hearts above their heads that are in fact quite easy to miss and confuse me 9 times out of 10. There is so much more that I would like to mention about this game, but I'm not sure how much of it is relevant. I had a whole lot of fun with this game, and it is a lovely story and an absolutely fantastic soundtrack. I really recommend this to anyone and everyone, even with its shortcomings. So, go purchase Bastion. It's available on the Xbox Live Arcade, on Steam, on iOS, and even in the Chrome Web Store. There is a link in the trunk to the Supergiant Games website. Thank you for watching. You know where the like, favorite, and subscribe buttons are. They help out a ton. This has been Engine Trouble. I look forward to seeing you next time.
And then he falls to his death. I'm just fooling.